Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I've been up the whole time, of course, since KD's. Well, no, I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning. I've been up since then. Found out of the KD thing. Very, very exciting times in the NBA. I want to speculate a little bit before new news starts trickling in, because I do think that there's going to be some things that could be possible today. Um, and so, just want to give you guys a little bit of my mind on this one. The Los Angeles Lakers, I think there's a chance. It's a small chance, but there's a chance that the reason why we saw AD unhappy was because he might have got news that his name was being shopped. It's one of the things that you wonder is, if a guy's going through something personal, maybe he had something go on. Maybe he was unhappy because he wasn't getting the type of playing time he was supposed to be getting. Someone had mentioned that. I saw that he had been subbed out and he was unhappy because he wasn't getting his touches. But nah, that's not that. AD has been next to LeBron James for the last 3 years, and this is the day that LeBron James is going to break the scoring record. The moment he breaks the scoring record, he's visibly seen unhappy. Either it's something definitely bad going on, like something's happened in life, as to which I would think he would have a leave of absence if it were something like that. He wouldn't be there. But, given the occasion, maybe he would, given the occasion. But it just seemed to me that that's the type of body language you wonder if somebody gave him some bad news about whether or not he would be playing with the team, or whether or not his name was going to be mentioned in trade rumors or what have you. That was the type of energy I thought about later on. I was like, maybe he got a text from somebody saying, yo, the Lakers are shopping you. There's a good chance you won't be here. And, as to which, if I'm to just read tea leaves, a scenario like that could look something like, you signed off on this, you didn't tell me. Some variation of that could be speculated about. So that's the type of energy that could have been. Um, that kind of thing. But Anthony Davis got to understand, man, you got to seriously see where the risk is versus the reward. You're a fantastic, elite, legendary athlete in this game. But if we can't rely on you to stay healthy, we can't have you at that particular price tag and feel good about it based on how we were constructed before the trade. Because now that the trade, see, that's another thing. It's like, okay, do I look at Anthony Davis's piece the same way after now that we've acquired Vanderbilt and have gotten other retradable pieces? Not necessarily, because that was the point for me, was that I can't seem to build a champion around Anthony Davis because I can't count on him to stay healthy, and in that event we're leaning so much on him. Now that we've made this trade, I don't imagine our team the same way. You're not leaning on Anthony Davis as much. But the perspective we're speaking of was then, when he was sitting there looking around during that situation that was before the trade. So, at that time, you look at it and say maybe he was thinking that it was a good chance he could be moved. Do I think it's a good chance Anthony Davis can be moved? I actually don't anymore, because I think that's what we're doing. We're bringing pieces to us that can help us manage Anthony Davis's injuries. That's what I think. But what they also could be doing is bringing in his replacements and maybe reimagining our forward position entirely. But it's one of those things where you almost wonder if it's one of those situations where they're just considering trading him, and if it's a great deal, they'll pull the trigger. Just like in any other piece that isn't as big. But when you have a piece this big, the one thing that lended itself to another tea leaf, that lended itself to me thinking he might have gotten some bad news, is the fact that a piece like that is definitely going to find out he's being moved before he gets moved, for a million different reasons. Mainly, the most important one, Nike and them. Whatever his contract is, if it's Nike or if it's Adidas, whatever, which one he's with, I think it's Nike. Since he's such a big cachet player, they most definitely will let him know he's going to a different market, because there's going to be a million different people making a million different phone calls and emails and stuff like that. Once someone like that gets moved from Lakers to somewhere else, yeah, they change the color schemes and all types of different stuff. So that's what I was wondering about. Like, if he's headed to, Utah or something like that, I'm pretty sure he would not be happy in a moment like that if he found out Utah was trying to, pick him up for like 5 picks or something. But, that's the thing. When a team like Utah comes out and says, I have 15 picks ready to put them in motion, You'd have to imagine a team like the Lakers would be fielding calls for AD if the idea was to reset their timeline this upcoming offseason. Because what you want to do is to get the most for him. So if Utah's talking about we got 15 picks, everything's on the go right now, you don't know that anybody's gonna be saying that in the summertime. So this is the time to jump on something like that. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you put them tea leaves together, and you'll find that there's a lot of speculation there to be looked at in regards to Anthony Davis particularly. But it's a lot of different things that point in multiple different directions. Like, for example, the trade rumor that I got last night for you guys that had Beverly and Lonnie going to the Hawks. That's one of those things that point in two different directions, because you can also say that they brought Vanderbilt, D'Lo, and Beasley for continuity as to which he's supposed to be a part of it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you don't really know what they're really thinking about doing. It's probably just a touch and go kind of thing, especially for Patrick Beverly. So with him being on the contract that he's on, it's one of those things where you win-win if you're the Lakers. If you keep him, you got this continuity thing going on. If you lose him, you got something for him and you're happy. So I guess you put yourself in a win-win position. So that's how I kind of see that. Yeah. Also, just one of those things where you try to reimagine your team. You know, I found myself thinking this morning that Patrick Beverly actually is a piece that fits better on this roster than the roster we had prior to the trade, because we probably need more of his energy now that Westbrook is out. But the problem is he's still too small and still too deficient offensively to make it make sense at that price. Now that you got these other pieces in place that can shoot, you're probably not going to have him on the floor as much, with D'Lo on the floor as well. Beasley also has to be reimagined. That's another thing. Not reimagined, but worked into the equation. When I was trying to assess the team last night and I was thinking about our guard rotation, he's there as well, forward rotation. So it's like, you know, he's going to get his minutes, knowing the Lakers are going to feature guys they've traded for just for the sake of featuring them, as opposed to things that actually make sense, which concerns me. Like Darvin Ham, like, you know, we still got to play our Troy Browns and our Austin Reeves just because we picked up these new guys. You cannot get away from the continuity that's already in place with the guys that we already have and continue to lean on them for certain things that they can still do for us. Because what we don't want to do is lean on all these offensive shooters who don't defend like that and then find ourselves still throwing away possessions with helpful pieces sitting down, just like we had going on prior to these trades. So that's why I said, like, at one point I had mentioned in a video that I had made about this thing, once you make the trade that you love and get all the pieces and you're happy, then you look at Darvin Ham and you say, what are you going to do with this thing? And that's exactly where we're at. Like, okay, we got our pieces now. Are you going to make this make sense? Or are we going to still see small ball? Are you going to throw wacky rotations on the floor, leaning on instincts just because a guy has a certain personality trait? It's like, we don't need none of that, man. We need to follow the analytics. We're trying to win. We need to win now and be efficient and precise. So that's where I'm at. I don't really want none of this instinct throw crap at the wall nonsense anymore. No, it's winning time. It's winning time. We got to act like we've been here before. So that's what it is. I like all the way around the way the team looks. Can't wait to see everybody suit up. Obviously, we got some press conferences to see about and scheduling and all that. But of course, that comes after today. As we probably still have more trades to make, man. I really think it's a good chance we'll do some more stuff, because those expiring contracts are just sitting there. Some of them are pretty valuable. So, yeah, man. Hearing names like OG Anunoby, not necessarily for the Lakers, but I'd like to see us get involved if we're going to throw the first round pick in there. That's the type of caliber of player we should be looking to return with. Who else? There's some other things going on too, man. You know, with the KD trade, obviously everybody's just going crazy over that. But, you know, really it's one of those things where you just wonder if the Lakers would actually do something like trading Anthony Davis on this day. You know, just mess around and trade him on the trade deadline, because you figured they traded Kevin Durant like a thief in the night, 4-year deal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these type of things are happening. And as I told you guys, I was like, I would not be surprised if this led up to a very big trade deadline, because the environment for which this can happen It's just always been here with the market being locked up all summer. You knew for a fact that there was going to be an active trade deadline because teams were not fully reimagined. Now you see what I'm talking about. You can see these teams putting together what they wanted to put together back in the summertime, and some of the most improbable moves, like KD to the Suns, is a reality of the trade deadline. It makes me want to go back and listen to some of those old videos that I made talking about things that could be taking place at the deadline back then, because a lot of this stuff was like rumored about, but to see it fully imagined, I look at players going back to old places as well. That seems to be a theme in this league. As this collective bargaining agreement situation starts to approach, teams seem to want familiar players that have already been in their organization. They want these guys back. I see Jakob Poeltl headed back to Toronto. I'm sure they'll probably pay him since they've traded for him. Gave pick equity out to San Antonio. San Antonio got more picks in that situation. And, a team I'm looking at? Milwaukee. Because I do think they got some nice pieces. A guy like Marcin Beauchamp makes me feel real good about him stepping up. And I just don't love their cap situation. I'm not getting rid of Drew Holiday. Obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo stays. Nobody would ever shop him for any reason. But Chris Middleton off an injury, that's the thing about Chris Middleton. You guys know he's talented as heck. He's an NBA champion. He can shoot like basically around the perimeter and mid-range. He looks like Kobe or Jordan or something. The problem with Chris Middleton is he's injury prone. Now, they had some good years with him over the last 2 years, and as to which they were successful in a championship. But if you remember, if I'm not mistaken, he was missing this past playoffs. He's been missing all season this year. And if you look behind those 2 years that I'm referring to, he was injured all in years too. So he's back to his old self, essentially. And if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks with him on contract that price, if I can get something for Chris Middleton today that I like, I'm out. I'm moving him. I'm moving him because I see an opportunity there to get first round pick and something for him, because guys are going to want Chris Middleton for his skill set. He's a real deal player. And to a point, Milwaukee should still want him too. But the way that they're set up, I just think they got some depth issues. And the way things look projecting going forward, I think they're going to want some money. I think they're going to want some caps and flexibility. And if they have to move a piece, he's probably the one they can move and get really a lot for him. So there's no urgency. Maybe they want to go for another playoff run before thinking about doing something like that. I don't think the urgency is necessarily there to do it today. But as I said, when a team like Utah come out of the woodworks talking about how we have everything available, that right there means that the field can get creative and bounce stuff off of Utah to get it done. That's the point. It's like, all right, they got 15 picks, so I'm going to enter them into my 3-team deal, and for whatever needs to be gotten changed for, we just go to them. They got picks, make it right. Whatever we need to do to make it right, whether we exchanging picks to make the swaps make sense or something like that with Utah, and give them different picks for our picks, so our picks will be more valuable, taking them from them, or something of that nature. Maybe taking some contracts, giving them some salary to some players that you would like, taking back some of those picks to help incorporate into your trade. Those type of things you can do once you know that a team like that has nothing but trade equity in the form of not players. You feel me? In the form of something that isn't a person. When you have that, more than one of those, you can do so much as a GM, even if you don't necessarily have flexibility or have everything you need in place to make your deal happen. It's like a free mount. It's like a free. It's like a bank loan or something like that. It's like, go to the bank. Hey, go to the Utah's bank of picks and players, and go over there and just stash for what you need and bring it back to, say, Phoenix, and say, okay, Phoenix, you ain't got no flexibility, but we can work with you because Utah is dealing with us, just like we did with Minnesota yesterday. So that is how you do it. Man, they got a couple of them too. San Antonio's in that position. Utah's in that position. Presti and OKC is in that position, even though they got more talent, so they probably can't really take everything back that you would want to give them. But pay attention to Charlotte. I would be pretty surprised if Charlotte doesn't try to get up off of something today. Something's telling me Plumlee has to move. I don't know why, but something just keeps telling me Plumlee, because his contract isn't that great. He is a high-level player, and they do have Mark Williams and other players behind him. So maybe it's just because I would move him. I think he has some value. I really think he has some value. He can help a winning team. That's another thing. So if a team has a 3 second rounders, I would give up Plumlee. PJ Washington's a hell of a player. That's another one I'd be shopping to Utah if they want to give me. You know what I'm saying? If they want to, for example, if I'm Charlotte, I hear Markkanen's on the line. I can get Markkanen. I'm calling. I'm like, all right, I have expiring contracts. I got stuff that can give you some salary. I got all kinds of stuff. Is there any way we can work out something for me to get Markkanen off of you? That's the type of move I would want to make if I'm Charlotte. Because if you're not going to be signing the guys you have, you need to be shaving salary, and you need to be upgrading talent around LaMelo Ball. Getting the guards out of there that you don't need. You got Bouknight, high-level player on a rookie contract. Like as I said, PJ Oubre, who should be coming back from injury very soon. He's a high-level player, almost an all-star, the type of year he was having. So these are things that have some value. Obviously, Gordon Hayward used to play with the Utah Jazz. They're not going to want his contract, but if you make it sweet for him, they may be willing to take it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. But these are the type of things I'd be want to do. When I hear that Markkanen's on the block, and I'm a team don't have a whole lot of talent, I need to make a move for that player right now. Based on his contract and the fact he's an all-star this year, you need to get him. In fact, Utah, don't necessarily shop him. Keep him and gut everything else. That's what I would do. I would give up him. But Danny Ainge seems to be on a mission to do something, and I'm wondering what it is. You know, if I'm Denver, I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm going to tell you the truth. If I'm Denver, I'm probably moving Porter to you. I am. That contract ain't no good, man. He's back. And he's playing well, and he's hitting shots, and he's starting to show that he can be a high-level scorer. But he's still missing a lot of games, and he still make a lot of money, and they are really logjam. And when you talk about the fact that they're trying to move a guy like Bones Highland, I tell you right now, I'm doing everything I can to come up off of somebody else. I'm going to move Porter before I move Highland. Honestly, I'm moving Porter. I can get something for Porter, and they're just more sturdy pieces to have in place. Like, for example, OG Anunoby. If I can move Michael Porter for OG Anunoby, I'm doing it. No questions asked. Because at the end of the day, can I rely upon him to stay healthy? Can I get out from under this injury-prone core that is the Denver Nuggets surrounding Jokic? And the answer is, not when you got those two injury-prone players making too much money. Jamal Murray and Porter. So you got to pick one. And for me, I'm just going to automatically take Jamal Murray just from preference. And he's just flat out healthier. We're not talking about a back here with Murray. We're talking about legs and knee and stuff like that. And so for me, Porter making like 150, whatever he's making, that's a no-go. I got to get that off my books, man. If I'm Denver, I'm moving on from that. You know what I mean? Because you got Gordon in place. And even though I thought his contract was no good, he's played really, really good. His whole piece is basically why Denver is so elite, in my opinion. You slap that cog in there, and they're just almost impossible. So I just don't think, Porter don't play half the time anyway. And when he is out there, he's hitting shots from the corner. That boy's an elite shooter, but he's not really contributing in other areas than scoring and maybe a couple boards. That's pretty much it. And if for what he's making, coupled with his injury stuff and all of that, for me, in their situation, he's out. I'm moving on from that immediately. I like him a lot. Don't get it twisted. He's a hell of a talent. But I got him in the R.J. Barrett category, and he's got an R.J. Barrett-like contract, too. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I'm out. So that's something I think, like I said, if I could turn him into OG Anunoby or Gary Trent Jr. and some pieces, maybe Fred. I don't know. Fred VanVleet probably don't make no sense for Denver, but this is the type of thing I'm doing, man. Like I said, certain pieces you don't expect to move, I'm getting them up out of here. Karl Anthony Towns, if I'm the GM of the Minnesota Timberwolves, he will have a new spot today. Yeah, I can't keep him healthy. He's making all the money in the world. Rudy Gobert's on a contract I cannot move that's also making all the money in the world. I just brought in Mike Conley at a contract that ain't no good for the next 2 years. and I got to make sure that Anthony Edwards is happy. And this team don't fit Anthony Edwards. This is like the Utah Jazz. It's like you put Anthony Edwards in the same outdated system that he was that Donovan Mitchell was in with the Utah Jazz. That's essentially what they just reassembled. We're not half the depth because it took a million times more to put it together. And then if you got Karl Anthony Towns down there, who's just kind of sitting there and playing the 4 at 7-1, shooting threes, play no defense. I just think that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me, especially when I can trade Karl Anthony Towns for like 3 picks right now to the Utah Jazz. It'd be cool. Yeah, that sounds like a better plan to me. Trade him for picks and players and give yourself the foundation that you need to have more flexibility and keep Anthony Edwards. That's what it's all about. You're going to have to keep Anthony Edwards. He's going to make the most amount of money possible, likely. So you don't leave yourself without an opportunity to make him happy. And the last thing you really want to do is build exactly the way the Minnesota Timberwolves are around him. He needs to be in a situation like the Rockets, where they're flying up and down and having a great time, or like Golden State, where they're flying up and down and having a good time. Not in a half-court offense with 2 stilts, an old guy running the point guard really, really, really methodically. That's absolutely boring. It's boring. That's the opposite of the way I would build around Anthony Edwards. Free Anthony Edwards, please. I'm gonna say it now. Free him. I don't want him up there no more. They don't know what they're doing. All right, so that's what I gotta say about that, man. Free him. I would love to see him move today, even though that's not at all gonna happen. But yeah, I don't like that. I think he's about to be Donovan Mitchell all over again, and he's gonna have to get the hell out of there to not be. And he's not gonna win just like him in Utah. Speaking of Donovan Mitchell, they're going to have to tweak something in Cleveland if they want to compete, I think. And I think they got enough to complete with the 2 players that they got in place, the Stilts, Allen, and Mobley. Those guys are great. I don't think nothing's wrong with their starting lineup. However, I do think they need to boost their bench a little bit once you start getting to that 7th man, 8th man, 9th man. When the playoffs come around, they're going to have some issues depending on the matchup. Especially with teams like the Knicks getting a little better. Josh Hart went to the Knicks, and I expect a couple other Eastern Conference teams to get better. And the thing about it is, Brooklyn is not necessarily moving out of the way. Just because they're not beating you the same way they used to beat you doesn't mean that they didn't pick up enough stuff to still win some of them same games. I think they can still win some of those same games. So you got to pay attention to Brooklyn Nets. I don't think they really fell off at all, believe it or not, given what it is that they put together and how it should be able to fit together. And if Cam Thomas is going to keep on scoring 40 points a game, they're not going anywhere. So don't be surprised if they don't necessarily fall in the standings as much as people think they may without all them stars. So, yeah, some things to look at, man. I can't wait to give you guys actual concrete information. We are about 5 hours or so away from the deadline, and it should be fun. It should be very fun. And even if there's nothing left to be done, there's already been enough to talk about. And my team, personally, the Lakers, we've done enough to make me pretty happy. But inactivity from here is probably something that would make me unhappy because we are not a full team yet. We have those contracts that are expiring. We have some pieces that are still small that would entice our coach to play small ball lineups even now. So we need to still extract and be precise. But Westbrook is likely headed to the Clippers, so we're happy about that. I hear Miami also has some interest, so there's some bidders there. I heard Chicago also may have some interest, so keep an eye on Russ. What else, man? That's it, man. That's what I gotta say for now. I think it's very easily it's easy to see maybe New Orleans making a move today. Because they've been on this long losing streak, but they expect to be getting healthy very soon. So maybe some of the pieces that they've seen and take a look at over the last couple of weeks that haven't worked out for them, maybe they can move some of those pieces to boost their bench. With Valanciunas going down with some type of knee, I don't know how serious it ended up being. I never paid attention to find out, but look for them to possibly try to do some things today. Memphis as well. Memphis says they want more size. I don't think they have a size issue, to be honest with you. But with Adams going down, they may want to do something too, since they've been on a hell of a losing streak as well. And the West is getting so much better. So, as a Laker fan, as I look at the teams that are being assembled, I feel like we're just as good as any of them. Phoenix doesn't scare me because their bench is so terrible. They're like Brooklyn Nets West at this point. All starters, no bench, and the starters aren't reliable, so it doesn't work. There's gonna be a lot of people will be like, no, but Devin Booker, and it's like I don't care about that. I don't care, bro. You can't tell me nothing about that because at the end of the day, what I know is they're gonna be putting in Rainwright. They're gonna be putting in Lee. They're gonna be, you know what I'm saying? And those players are not gonna have enough to defend the players that are coming at them when they have real benches coming at them. So they better play Kevin Durant 40 minutes a game. It works in the regular season against the same team, 7 games in a row, and then you got to do it again at a higher level against a better team, 7 games in a row, and then you got to do it again against a higher level team, 7 games in a row, and then you got to do it again at a higher level team flying back and forth across the country, 7 games in a row for a championship. And you want Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker to stay healthy for that? Kevin Durant's hurt right now. Devin Booker's hurt right now. Chris Paul's hurt right now. Y'all want them to stay healthy for that? And they bench ain't got no. And there's no Bridges, who's there every game, who's never missed a single game for the Phoenix Suns. He gone. No Crowder, who they didn't use, who I don't think is that great, even though everybody loved him except for me. He gone. Cam Johnson, even though he's been missing all season with injury, one of their great players, shooter, he's gone. Also fantastic defender. That's 2 of their best defenders out the door. 3 of their best defenders out the door in the same trade. And they're bringing back a hurt guy, Kevin Durant, of whom I'm on board with. I think it's great. But as I told you guys, it's not about this season. It's not. It's not at all about this season. Unless they make a trade to rid themselves of Ayton that can turn into a bunch of pieces to give them depth, or get rid of Chris Paul that can turn into a bunch of pieces to get them depth, which doesn't look possible at all. I don't know nobody who's going to do that for them for Chris Paul. And so this is a situation where until they can get those pieces, it's not happening. It's not going to happen. You know, Londale's a nice piece, so you know you're going to see him step forward. People are saying Torrey Craig's a nice piece. I think he's a nice role player. I really do. Nice rotational, situational role players, they like to say. That's how I look at Torrey Craig. But like you got him in the starting lineup and he's supposed to be guarding Anthony Davis, something like that. That's not real. That's not real. You know, that's just not real. You got Ayton down there for sure, but you know, Dario Saric gonna have to step forward now. He's gonna have to. Hopefully, he's healthy for them. You're gonna see more of him. So that's what I'm saying. It's like they're a good team, of course. Don't get it twisted. It's not like I expect them to miss the playoffs. It's Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker are not missing the playoffs. They're gonna win some real good regular season games too. But you know, when you don't have enough depth and you're getting schemed against by teams like Memphis, Portland, Dame and them, and you got the bigs that he's got assembled there with Grant and Nurkic and all those dudes. It's just certain matchups that you can understand that Phoenix is going to be in those games, but don't let nobody roll an ankle. And they're going to have situations where their defense is going to be not very good. You know, Devin Booker's played some good defense. Kevin Durant plays some defense here and there, but, you know, Ayton, is he really a defensive center like that? I don't consider him that. You know what I mean? So it's like, offensively, I like them to score a lot of points, especially when they're healthy. They're blowing people out. But it's sort of like the Clipper effect. You know, you move one player, and they're just not going to be able to do it in the playoffs. And they're going to need everybody to stay healthy. And then they need players to step outside of themselves on their bench, step outside of themselves. So, as I told you guys in the offseason about the Brooklyn Nets, they're not a contender. They're not real. You see where the Brooklyn Nets are right now. I hope I'm gaining some trust with the people watching me in that regard. The Phoenix Suns aren't real. No matter what ESPN tells you, no matter what the NBA.com, whatever they tell you. I heard that the Sports Something Almanac said, I don't know who it was, Sports Something Odds said that they're going to be the number 2 team. I'm like, that's not real. Behind the Boston Celtics, that's not real. Why is that not real? Because they don't have the bodies. They don't have the bodies. Kevin Durant is that real. Devin Booker is that real. Ayton with them is that real. Chris Paul, if he's his best, is that real. But those are only 4 people. Those are only 4 people. So you, Torrey Craig and Jock Londale, Wayne Wright, Damian Lee, That's where the meat and potatoes is. That's who you're going to be sending at teams who have real benches. And when they put them real benches in the game, them leads that those guys accumulate, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant accumulate, down goes that lead. Blown lead central. That's what's going to be Phoenix Suns. They're going to blow a lot of leads. Anytime Kevin Durant gets in foul trouble, whoa, it's going to look real bad out there because it's not going to be about how Devin Booker and Chris Paul can score. It's about how the hell they're going to defend. Who's guarding? Let's say they get into a situation where they run into a Giannis-like player. Who the hell is guarding him? I'm Phoenix. Right now. Who's guarding that player? Kevin? Devin? Is it Devin? Kevin? Which one? Because Mikal's gone. So who's guarding him? Dayton? It's not real, y'all. Phoenix is going to have to. When I say have to, they have to make a trade to get either Chris Paul or DeAndre Ayton out of there to turn them into multiple pieces that can make all that not what it's going to be right now. Otherwise, they're leaning on some players, and when you do that, you're forcing them to be overused and ultimately into health risk situations. So that's another thing. It's like, oh, we can build with 4 guys, yeah, but if everybody else on the team sucks, you're going to be leaning on those 4 guys, and what happens? They're going to get worn down and injured. So that's where Phoenix is headed. You put old people in that situation, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, you put them in that situation where they have to guard fast, young people. You saw how the Nets went last year against the Celtics. We saw how it went. It's the exact same thing. There's no difference at all. Zero difference, man. Just like I told you guys. Pau Gasol, Kobe, Steve Nash, Dwight Howard. That's this. That's what Phoenix just put together overnight. And it'll probably fizzle out the same way the first year. But if they can stay healthy, do the right thing, prioritize Kevin Durant, prioritize Devin Booker, they'll be fine. They'll be fine over time. The next 2-3 years, they can put together something extremely special. But don't expect that this year. Do not expect that. Expect the media to sell that to you, though. But it's not going to equate to that, in my opinion. So that's what I got to say, man. Kyrie Irving had a nice game against the Dallas Mavericks and walked home with a bunch of fans. I saw that. Really special stuff, man. Make sure you move with your security, though. You got enemies, bro. Move with security. So that's what I got to say. That's pretty much my thought. I can't wait to give you more information. Hopefully, there'll be more trades right here and now. I'll get right back on here and speak. But that's what I got for BDF 44. Thank you all for watching.